soon we will reach the lair of judgment. Timon Negru will finally regain its full function and lead us into the demon world. The world where Sparta's power has been sealed. And the one who will lift the incantation is you, his own son. It must be fate.
Does that woman really bother you?
What are you talking about?
Why didn't you kill her? Perhaps because she's your daughter? Did some pesky fatherly love get in your way?
That's none of your...
To further your study of the black arts, you sacrificed your loving wife to become a devil as well. Knowing this, I thought you'd be more useful to me. But I was wrong. No wonder your attainment of power is incomplete.
What about you? You're an incomplete being as well. Both demon and human blood mingle in your veins.
Shut up. Now that the final door is open, I have no use for you.
Strengthen the silent bridge. It's a magic stone made by an ancient priest. It is said who dons it can walk on water. Well, I'm going to save here because after that last mission, I am kind of spent. I knew that, I know that boss fight's hard. I didn't really have an idea of how long it was going to take. And, well, you saw for yourself. I don't know why I'm saving again, but yeah. I think we only did 4 missions, and man, some of those took quite a while. But I want to give a thanks to Ghost Cabbit, the maker of this model, SnowHusky, for VRM work, retexture, and Antifreeze, who's doing thumbnails. Editing this recording session is going to be a bit of a pain because of me accidentally forgetting to unpause on the one mission. So again, sorry that it might be a little weird that it'll cut away to me doing playing through the level later, but it's one of those things. I swear I hit unpause or whatever, but I guess I didn't, or maybe I hit pause later on. I don't know. Yeah, I'm still enjoying the game. Sorry if I'm leaning too heavy on a gunplay, which I know isn't as exciting. I know, in general, this is still better than 2 in terms of how I'm playing it. I mean, the game itself is way better than 2, but I just naturally like to rely on the guns more. That's just who I am as a player. I don't find it as boring as like I'm sure some others do, because like the real gem is like to mix the melee play and the gun play, right? I like to just play it a little safer a lot of the time with the guns, especially in boss fights, as you might notice. And in that fight in particular, just again, I was just playing it safe. I was having a bit of a hard time telling like when she's close to having her defenses broken. And I definitely dislike how like the one kind of dislike I had on that boss fight is just how like if you do break her shield, her bat shield or whatever, you stun her with your guns, you're kind of SOL. Like there's no like you're not gonna get close enough to hit her, and I don't think continuing to shoot her really seems to stun her longer. It seems like you need to be up close in melee range, so that's a bit frustrating. That I think you should at least be given a bit of time to try and dash in there and, you know, close the distance and get some damage on her. It's kind of frustrating when it's like, oh, I accidentally stunned her with my guns and I'm too far away to get any damage done, right? That's just kind of my feeling on it personally. I think you should be giving at least a bit of a window to close the gap, and even if you can't get as much damage in, I still think you should be able to get a little bit of damage in. Like, because to me the punishment can already be I wasn't paying close enough attention, or I'm clearly shooting too much, and I accidentally stunned her when she was far enough away from me. The punishment to me is already losing a lot of damage, being able to do damage to her. I don't think you should not be able to do like any damage to her though, because yeah, that fight, as you saw, that fight just took forever, and I would love to do it without using a gold orb or something, but again, there is a certain level of I want to keep a pace going with this. Kind of some of these levels were like took me over half an hour, bit of it because I just wanted to go explore. I haven't been the most focused in that regard, I guess you could say, but that's just me as a player wanting to look around a little bit. Anyway, this has been almost 3 hours and 45 minutes of recording. I will try and get this edited right away, get some pictures over to Antifreeze so he can start making thumbnails, and I'm thinking I'm probably going to take the shift tonight that I was offered, but I do have a 4 nights off coming up, and I'm going to definitely want to keep that as it is, because I genuinely want to make some good progress on Devil May Cry. I feel like watching the anime, and I'm going to go watch the anime on the 16th with a friend. I'm going to go over to his house and we're going to order some food and watch it together. I feel like just that anime coming out in general has kind of energized me again. I don't want to say I was losing interest or anything. I wasn't. It was just a little bit. It was more that I just didn't want to record in general. Not really I don't want to play DMC. So, yeah, I genuinely want to make some good progress, and I don't want this to kind of turn into another Dead Space where it's like it kind of takes me like a whole year just to get through each game. Now, these games in general, I would say, are shorter than the Dead Space games, because survival horror games tend to be like, I don't know, 40, 50 hour kind of adventures. They take a bit of time. And I just don't want this to get so bogged down that it ends up taking that long. Now, like in terms of at least recording the games, obviously uploading them is a different thing, because unless I have a huge backlog of videos, I generally like to do just one part a day. If I end up having a pretty big backlog, then I might do like 2 episodes a day kind of thing. That's only if I end up with a good backlog. Or in some instances, if maybe I'm just trying to free up some space on my hard drive, because when I get to recording the HD games, those are going to take up more hard drive space. those are going to be more memory each, especially if we're doing like the Devil May Cry 5. I'm still debating on the reboot game, if I want to play that on my 360 or if I do want to do that on the Series X. Because part of me would kind of like to do it on the original platform it was kind of developed for. I know there are some differences between the original release and the definitive edition or whatever they ended up calling it, but I'm probably going to stick with the 360 version is what I want to say I'm going to do. I'd like to think that probably won't be as hard, like it wouldn't take up as much memory either when it comes to recording it. It would mean like obviously not as high frame rate resolution and stuff, but as you can already tell in this channel that like playing, you know, to me the experience is playing these on their original platforms, their original intended platforms. They give the best possible like representation of how the game actually played in the first place and how it looked. I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent, but I don't feel like I should say always, but stop saying it. At some point, I got like from seeing gameplay footage of games on like the original version on the original console, and then like say on like a re-release on a HD console later. There's always a bit of an odd look to the games when they're in HD, and it's just because simply they were designed in an era that it's not HD, and from videos and stuff I've watched that the devs would even purposely, knowing that the game is going to be played on a CRTV and it's going to be on a composite cable or component. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. But we're gonna, like, that's not going to be the highest resolution. The image is going to be a bit blurry. They would design the look of the game around that. They take that into account. So when you suddenly take these games and put them in 4K, for example, they come off looking a little odd, and if anything, to me it makes them look a little worse than they are, because like you definitely realize the more low texture stuff and just the clear like, yeah, no, this game's not meant to be in HD. And I'm not saying devs shouldn't re-release these games, or especially when they're old games and you want to give the fan base, like newer fans, the chance to play them without needing to dig up old consoles and stuff. I still want that to happen. I'm just saying, from my personal opinion on it is that I'd rather play the original releases because they were designed for those platforms and they were designed not to be in HD. And to me, it kind of hurts the overall image, because like a higher resolution doesn't necessarily always means a better looking game to me. That's, I guess, more specific to older games, but that's just kind of how I feel about it. Again, I'm not saying it shouldn't be done, because ultimately giving players a chance to play the games is more important than... Like, the other thing too is you can take into account, it's like, if the devs wanted to, I'm sure they could make some kind of mode to replicate just a bit of that blurriness. I know like some of those like some 2D like sprite work games sometimes have those filters to try and make them look a little better, or if you just want to get a bit of that old school look to them, you can, because like when you're playing them on a HD TV, it can sometimes do weird things to them. Like sprites sometimes come off odd in HD from what I've seen, or from at least what people have said. So anyway, that's on a whole little tangent there. I'm sure I will be editing some stuff out of this recording session just based on spending a good chunk of time on some boss fights. Gonna need to cut out some footage here and there and do a bit of editing. So even though this is a 3 hour and 50 minute recording session, it's gonna be less than that. It might be, I don't know, closer to 3 hours footage-wise, probably a little less maybe, depending on how much I choose to cut out. Especially, I mean, I was wandering a lot too, so. All right. Anyway, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And again, I will try to get back to this sooner rather than later. I really want to move on to the HD games and get this finished up sooner rather than later. That's for sure. Alrighty. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, ciao for now. Bye.